Hey, question. How does this video make you feel? And note the question here, I'm not asking for what you think about it, I don't want to know your take, just how you feel. Uncomfortable, right? Why is that? Now, like, obviously on the surface level, the answer to this question is obvious. It's a traditionally attractive man with a non-traditionally attractive woman. But what this fails to explain is the sheer level of vitriol people are throwing at this. Bringing up nominally political topics like body positivity and representation. And while I could sit here judging these mean people, I want to do something a lot more uncomfortable. Admit that I kind of relate to them. As well, I would never leave a comment similar to these people. I know that I am feeling something like what they're feeling. And based on the sheer number of people comment, I'm guessing that statistically speaking, you do too. So in this video, we are going to compassionately and non-judgmentally, yet still critically analyze what it is about this video that sends people into such a tailspin, so that we may learn something about memes, the internet, and maybe even ourselves. And so in this video, I'm going to analyze this concept on 3 layers of increasing complexity. Because if this video is making me mad, I want to know why. I would like you to close your eyes and imagine for me that I am not offering you a cake. Now open your eyes because that's exactly what's happening. I'm not. However, instead imagine if I had first offered you a cake and then not given you one. Suddenly, now you're pissed. What this goes to show us is that what we care about is not actually an objective assessment of the utility of our circumstances, but instead a flawed simulacra of the actual quality of our situation, mediated by intervening social variables and abstract concepts such as fairness. And so when we feel emotions, we're not actually tracking the truth, we are tracking the social systems which we hope in turn track the truth. And so what social systems are being tracked here? I would argue rewards. Ever since I was a young lad, I was promised that if I work on my appearance and situations, one day a fine young lady may fall in love with me. And because of course the only metric to judge a woman's quality by is attractiveness, the more successful I become, the more attractive a lady I would get. And so when I see a man who looks like a combination of Johnny Sins, Chris Bumstead, and the Roblox guy, who, based on the evidence of him having a very nice house and being able to afford luxuries like dates, settles for a woman who I deem as less than stellarly attractive, it punctures a hole in the cultural narrative I've been telling myself, interrupts the reward cycle that I've been telling myself I deserve. And I presume that for many of the women in the comment section, they're experiencing basically the opposite of this. Because if you're a woman who works hard on your looks and fitness, and then you see a woman who isn't doing the same as you getting a man who presumably you find quite attractive, it's not fair. I put in all this work, and so you as a crab escaping the bucket must be pulled down. Now, I'll be clear that this definitely isn't some rich protect the rich style scheme to ensure my place in the hierarchy. I am not worried that this guy is dating someone below his pay grade because I see myself as similar to him and I want to avoid a similar fate. I'm mad at him because I see him as aspirational. He is not taking any prestige away from my current situation. He's taking prestige away from the situation that I imagine I might experience in the future. Because he isn't settling for someone he doesn't find attractive. He obviously loves this woman. He's settling for someone who other people might not find attractive. Or in other words, he is not failing in any way, shape or form to live up to a life he enjoys. He's failing to live up to the life I would imagine he would enjoy. Which means that next time I'm benching in the gym and need that extra motivation and imagine a future version of myself living as a Chad, the hypothetical perfection of this fantasy is tainted a little bit, and I think it is in the minds of a lot of the people treating this video with vitriol. Because I'm not rich, but I might be one day, and that's why I should protect their interests.
You're not rich. True, but someday I might be rich, and then people like me better watch their step.
What's ironic about this situation is that the very system I'm mad at him supposedly subverting is the system that's making me miserable. Now imagine you've been standing for a long time in a very long queue and have 15 minutes to wait. Then suddenly a cashier comes along and asks everyone to reorganize in a method that'll actually allow you to get to the front of the queue in 5 minutes because it's a much more effective way of waiting. But the people at the back of the queue will also only have to wait 5 minutes. Suddenly, this shit isn't fair anymore. The fact that the people in the back are doing better than you does not affect you, but it breaks down the hierarchy that you have been using to construct your relative value. And so despite the fact that this change of system would actually benefit you, you're gonna hold it up, actively hurting yourself, losing out on the long-term happiness you could get from building something better to incur the short-term advantage. If I knew that male body standards were slightly lower and that my self-worth would never be calculated based on the perceived attractiveness of my partner, that would improve my life, and it would improve the life of every single person commenting angry things under this video. But our emotions aren't rational, they don't acknowledge this fact, and so they continue to pull other crabs down into the bucket, ruining the bucket for everyone. We have the desire to lower the quality of the planet so that our social simulacras of quality can be increased relative to other people. How absurd is this? Layer 2. Why are there Mormons on my porch? So far, I have been pretty critical to anyone hating on this video, including myself for having toxic emotions that mirror what they're commenting. But I do feel like I need to give the devil his due a little bit here, because in all fairness, how are you supposed to interact with the social post-apocalypse that is social media? Humans are not single organisms. They are cells that make up the greater organisms of community. Each member of a community has a goal of regulating every other member. Therefore, when you are surrounded by casual and close friends of both genders, elders, rivals, mentor, and a congregation leader deciding what everyone believes, it is basically impossible to be cruel because you will be regulated by everyone around you in real time. This notion that the real you is how you act when no one's around is equally as wrong as saying that the real polar bear is how it acts when it's dying of heat exhaustion in the desert. Polar bears have a natural habitat, and so of course they will fail at the task of surviving when you take them out of the Arctic. And equally, humans have a natural habitat, communities, so when you drag them out of this and put them in a room by themselves, of course they will fail at the task of having basic empathy. The human brain is designed to seek patterns and form habits, with just enough critical thinking left over that if something surprising or chaotic happens, you are able to adapt on the fly and come up with a new set of habits and plans. If you live exclusively within order doing what you know, you will feel stagnant and bored. If you live exclusively in chaos, you will feel overwhelmed and unable to cope. It is only when you live in the center of the yin-yang, surrounded by consistent and meaningful social rituals, with just enough surprising things left over, that you are in the beautiful mixed state of simultaneous comfort and arousal, the flow state. Which means that to keep you content, Instagram cannot constantly control you with constant comfort, nor can it constantly offend and surprise you. It needs to give you that exact mix of things you know with just enough things likely to offend you. And this video, either by conscious planning or the random mutation and Darwinism of memes, is absolutely perfect at offending us. The mise en scene is really firing on all cylinders here. The downward lighting showing off his perfect abs. The fact that she struggles ever so slightly to get the dress on, drawing your attention to their weight difference. Hegelian dialectic of each member on either side of the frame, yet both sharing in the exact same joy. This video focuses your brain on that which makes you uncomfortable, puts you in a state of chaos, and invites your brain to engage in arousal. And so this video puts your monkey brain into panic mode and has you start looking for a solution to this discomfort. And given that you don't have a lot of fellow tribe members in your literal bedroom, the only possible out for this frustration is the one option Instagram gives you. Engage. Leave a comment. Engage in the discourse. Feed us content. Ring the bell. Come down my chimney. Send me a telegram via carrier pigeon. Be made uncomfortable by Instagram, then go to Instagram for another source of comfort until inevitably it gives you something else, and then repeat the cycle. Woo! You are not so much biting the hand that feeds, but being bitten by the hand that feeds, and then saying please and thank you. Your monkey brain doesn't know the difference between something uncomfortable appearing on a screen and someone doing something uncomfortable to you. And it is an ingrained part of our nervous system to correct people when they do something wrong, such as standing too close to you on the street, so that they can learn from their mistakes, and via Darwinism, bad social interactions can be filtered out so new ones can come in. But there is no person in front of you that's committed a mistake. You're just feeling things and then you're given a text box. And so what are these people expected to say other than ooh? And because this level of vitriol is so common, there are a number of memes and rituals and social conventions dedicated to it. Certain timbres that insults are meant to take. You know how like atoms have gravity so they go towards each other, then big balls of atoms have even more gravity so more things come towards them until the universe is organized into planets instead of just endless space dust? Well, that happens to human behavior as well. Someone wants to do something and so then it becomes a thing to be done. Then the next time someone has that feeling, they don't just have a motivation, but precedent. And suddenly you have hundreds and hundreds of people all doing the same thing, ignoring the fact that you're just bullying a fat person for existing. Like, that's what's going on here. A fat person has appeared in front of you, and you have felt emotions due to your weird simulacras of fairness, and you are using it to bully a fat person. But of course we can't admit that to ourselves. Part 3, why Confucius was smarter than Nietzsche. Okay, so long ago, the world was ruled by this little thing called objectivism, the idea that there is some objective value in the world that we all have a moral duty to go towards. In its earliest forms, the objective truth was something that we have to sit in a room and discover. People like Aristotle and the Stoics believed that through calm contemplation and the use of logic, we could work out what is objectively the best thing to do. Circa 30 AD, this video eventually evolved into Christianity, which took that objective ideal and turned it not into something that you can discover, but is something that is actively trying to have a relationship to you. Oh, look at me, I got a little Bible. Oh shit, what's this? Twilight of the Idols by Friedrich Nietzsche? No, I play with books like they're action figures. I'm deeply autistic. Friedrich Nietzsche had this entirely separate idea where he argued that this world of forms, this God that you believe in, doesn't exist. The only thing that's real is this world right here. And because there is no morality oppressing us, no objective structure that we have to be a part of, we get the task of forming our own subjective values. This battle between objective and subjective morality has been raging on for a long time. A moral objectivist might look at this video and say that this woman is doing something wrong. There is an objective value in the equation here that you have to morally at least try your best to be thin. Given that she is failing this thing, that makes her up for criticism, hence all the vitriol being potentially valid. Meanwhile, Nietzsche would say that there is no objective value here to speak of, but we subjectively may wish to form one because we are strong, we are like the guy on the left, and we want to have the baddest bitch as possible. And so it's our job to crush any morality that tells us to be nice to this person, because we're ubermenschers, damn it. But then, oh shit, a third person enters the frame, Confucius. You see, the same way that Christianity and Nietzsche are both self-improvement philosophies, they want to take you from one point, either being a sinner or a slave, and transform you into a based follower of Christ or an ubermensch. He believed that China was a fundamentally failing society filled with petty people who have a duty to evolve to the next state and become a junzi, which translates to a noble person. However, Confucius's theory of value wasn't objectivist or subjectivist, it was transjectivist. The word transjective refers to any quality that only exists due to a relationship between two things. A key, transjectively, holds the quality of unlocking only because it has a relationship with a lock. If I were to get rid of every lock in the world, these keys would lose their quality of unlocking. Confucius is constantly rejecting the Nietzsche notion that you can just do whatever you like, constantly emphasizing the idea that you have to ask other people and have them regulate your behavior because other people are able to hold truths that you yourself may not. But he wasn't objectivist either. Confucius didn't think that there was one way that everything had to be. He acknowledged that different societies might be different and had different rituals, and that it was your duty when entering some new social sphere not to oppressively force your ideals on everyone else like a colonialism, but to learn from everyone around you and speak the new language of this subculture. Value does not come from the self or God, it comes between people. And the way that we share and communicate this value is with rituals. You must restrain your impulse to want to do everything yourself and come up with your own ideas. You can only ever calculate what is the right thing to do by accurately following the rituals of your time. So let's apply this back to the video. What rituals are you expected to do while scrolling on social media? There are none. The closest thing we have to legitimate rituals on social media is like the way we talk and certain discourses that you're expected to take part in. Humans, using their limbic system, uncontrollably copy people around them without actually thinking through why they're doing what they're doing. Babies, before their prefrontal cortex is even finished developing, before they are even capable of thinking through what they're doing, will copy the adults around them so that they can learn social ways of being. Which is why it's possible to follow rules without actually fully knowing what the rules are. And so people in comment sections are embodying the behavior of everyone around them. Following these Confucian rituals, trying to find some value, some way that they can say that what they are doing is correct, and when they grasp into the abyss for their answer, the only possible thing they're met with is try insulting people.
Ignore the hate, just keep your chin up, bro. Pros built like the Snapchat logo.
People are cruel in this situation because they haven't been presented any kind of alternative. Confucius believed that society would fail when there are no rituals telling people what to do, and that's exactly the situation that we're in. And so if humans uncontrollably hold up power hierarchies that we don't actually benefit from, if we can't tell the difference between something happening to or in front of us because we lack a tribal context, if we don't have any Confucian rituals giving us our sense of value, what's the solution here? There are only three options here: systemic solutions, personal solutions, and mimetic solutions. The systemic solution would be if Instagram tweaked its algorithm so it stopped showing me content designed to offend me, and retooled its comment section to reduce engagement and discourage negativity. But it will never do that because it cares more about profit than human well-being. Instagram is a parasite on the human collective unconscious. It is our enemy, and we need to get rid of it using legal regulation. But given that that's a far-off goal, in the meantime, we may want to turn to a personal solution. C.S. Lewis, in his all-time classic, The Four Loves, lays out that there are 4 different ways of loving people. You can love people because they are familiar, because they are your friends, because you experience romance, or because of charity. And in this case, charity is being specifically defined as love you feel for a stranger, not because you have something in common with them or some reason to love them, but sheerly because they're a human. This kind of love is the love of God acting through you. Not having a reason per se to love someone, but doing so anyway because you inherently love every part of God's creation. And this kind of love, which can be cultivated through journaling and prayer and meditation, is essential if you want to change the way you interact with strangers. Gen Z has this weird idea that talking to people is bad. If I'm in an elevator, don't you dare talk to me, I don't like small talk. Which causes us to have zero charity as we are actively cultivating hate for the stranger. If you use social media, which don't, you are going to see the faces of hundreds of strangers every day, which means that charity is your only option for changing the way that you relate to these people to become more compassionate. And finally, the last solution I have to you is a mimetic one. We need to build rituals. We need to, online, have active conversations about where and when it is appropriate to do certain things. Is a person's comment section a free forum that anyone can post anyone in? Or are a person's comments directed to that person? This is a question that doesn't have a definitive agreed upon answer. Some people are using it in one way, others are using it in another way. And until we all agree what a comment section fundamentally is, there will be no solution to this. When America was founded, they wrote a constitution so everyone could be sure about what exactly this new nation is. Are we a communist dictatorship? Are we an Islamic ethno-state? Or are we a liberal society? If you don't explicitly spell out the answer to that question, well then there you go. You haven't explicitly spelled out the answer to that question. And so given that there is this new plot of mimetic territory that we have landed on, which in its current form has only existed for, what, 15 years, we need to write up some kind of social contract, some system by which we can all understand what exactly is going on whenever we're having social interactions, so that when a video like this pops up, you can understand that despite the fact that it validly makes you feel uncomfortable, it's not okay to bully people. Let me know if you agreed or disagreed with anything I said in this video, and follow for more philosophy and self-improvement content. See you around.